Are you trying to set up a self-hosted instance of N8N, but all the tutorials that you find out stop at the screen of having N8N installed, but not going into things as webhooks, updates, or self-hosting on your machine for free? In that case, you're in the right spot, and I'll show you exactly 2 ways how to self-host N8N. One will be the way that I'm recommending, that hosting it on a server, which will cost you money, will cost you around $7 a month, but that's the way that's preferred by me. I'll go into details when it comes to webhooks, when it comes to updates, but I'll also show you a way how to self-host N8N completely for free on your local machine. That will be in the later part, in the second part of the video, so feel free to skip to that if that's what you're interested in. So let's start with the preferred way of setting up your N8N self-hosting, and that would be setting it up in an online server. So it is up and running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anytime you need it. And for this, we can use multiple tools. You can use tools like Render, which is the one I will be using today. You can use Railways, you can use DigitalOcean. There are even possibilities to set it up in a Google Cloud or AWS. But each of the options work a bit different, and this is the option I believe that's the easiest for you to set up if you're not particularly tech savvy and if you don't have background with setting up web applications. So if you do, feel free to use the other tools, but the other tools you need to have a bit more of a knowledge before. So where you want to go is to this website called render.com, and you will create a basic account. That's very straightforward. After you create the account, you end up in your workspace, and you want to choose the projects, and you click add new. And what you want to do is create a web service. By the way, I believe that if you start an entirely new account, it will look a bit different. You will have these choices, right in front of you. So what you want to do is choose web service. And now either you can sign in with your GitHub account, but what we will do once easier way is use Docker. Now to get the Docker ID, you just Google Docker N8N. Here we go. And basically what we want to get from this documentation is just the Docker URL. So you scroll down a bit, and this is the URL that we're trying to get. By the time you're watching this tutorial, the URL may be a bit different, but that's fine. Just copy the URL. I may also post it in the description. So actually just check the description. You don't even need to go and find this on your own. So we paste the URL. You click connect. Now you want to choose a name of your instance, and this doesn't really matter. This is just for you. So let's choose something, N8N YouTube. Okay. You can choose region of your web hosting. I'll choose Frankfurt because that's the one closest to me, but obviously choose the one that's closest to you. And now what you will want to do is choose the instance type. And as you can see, there is a free tier, but the free tier comes with significant limitation, and the free tier doesn't run continuously. So it will run as long as you're using the tool, but once you turn off your computer, the N8N instance will shut down and you can't add a disk, so your data will disappear. So if you want this to work continuously, we will be using the starter plan, which is $7 a month. Plus, I believe it's like $0.50 for the disk storage. I'll show you that in a second. If you want a completely free version, keep watching and I'll show you how to host N8N on your computer. That's completely for free, but it's only going to work when you're running your computer, obviously. So for now, we can leave this blank, and we click deploy web service. And now this will take a bit of time. So, okay, and you will know that everything is set up as it should when you see this line. Your service is live. This is really what you're looking for. It may take 2 minutes. It may take 5 minutes. It shouldn't really take longer than 5 minutes. So after you get this line, your service is live, you will also get a URL that you can use to access your N8N instance. So let's go to this URL. And as you can see, you can set up a new account. Now there's onboarding. Let's just get through that quickly. This doesn't really matter. Get started. By the way, by the time I'm recording this video, you can get the free advanced features forever if you add your email account. So just click send me a free license key. You'll get the license key, and then you click on usage and plan and just submit the license key on this website. Enter an activation key, and here you will submit the key you got from email. But anyways, this is the page that you will get to. And now most of the tutorials I've seen on YouTube stop here, but it's really important to also set up webhooks so you can actually work with your app. Because if I start from scratch now and I try to create an app, I add a first step, I write webhooks, and now what you see is that the webhook URL that I get is localhost of some machine that's hosted on a render server somewhere. So you can't send any requests to this URL. You need to change this URL to a URL that's actually accessible by other websites. So how you will do this is by going back into render and clicking on environment and adding environment variables. And now there are 2 environment variables that you need to add. There is, hundreds of them in total that you can play around with to really tweak the settings of N8N to your liking, but I will not go into that detail. If you're interested in that, there's a documentation about that. But you will probably not need it, to be honest, unless you're doing some very custom development stuff. So the 2 variables that we will be using is to set up the HTTPS secured protocol and to change the variable of webhook. So you click add new variable. Yes, so it really is N8N protocol and you want to change it to HTTPS. Render does all the things in the background to set up the HTTPS for you. So you just add the variable. And then the second variable that we want to choose is the webhook URL. And by the way, I'll leave these variables in the comment. So again, you don't need to search for them on your own. And now what do you want to add in the value? This will be different for everyone. So listen carefully. You want this URL. You choose this URL and you paste it in here. And that's it. Now you click save and deploy. And what is going to happen is that the image is going to update with these environment variables. So that's one thing. Because of this, the webhooks will work. I will show you in a second. But another thing we want to do is add a disk. So as of now, without the disk, if you leave the instance without touching it for, I believe it's 5 minutes or something like that, it will turn off and you will lose your data. So what you want to do is add disk. Now you want to mount this path to the main N8N directory. And the easiest way is just to add /home/node/.n8n directory, which is the basic one, which is the one that's set up by default. And now for the disk size, 1 GB is more than enough. And once again, the disk setup will be made automatically by render. So you don't need to set the environment variables. You just add disk and everything is done in the background. Now, what you would want to do now is, again, redeploy the version so it connects the disk properly. And while doing that, I will also show you how you can update your instance. So if you're in your dashboard and you click on manual deploy and you click on deploy latest reference, by this, the service will update your N8N to the newest version automatically. So really there's, nothing that's too difficult. Just click this. Now the deploying will start again. And when this finish, and when this is finished, what we should have is a N8N instance running on our server with webhooks working and with a persistent storage. So our workflows aren't deleted when the instance stops running. So let me get back to you when this is done. So now, as you can see, it's live again. It was set up with the newest version. And by the way, we were just adding the persistent storage. So you may need to register again, but because we added the persistent storage, after this, when you turn off the service, you come back later, you won't need to register again. Now everything should be working as expected. What we will do is start from scratch. And the first step, let's add webhook. And now, as you can see, the webhook URL is actually a live URL that we can send data to. Okay, so this is how you set up N8N self-hosted in a server in a way that you can update it easily, that you can use webhooks and all the functionality, and in a way that you have a persistent storage so your data isn't deleted. Now, let's get to the free version because that's also something some of you may find useful. And when it comes to the free version, the main trouble you will have is that you need to host it on your computer. And while doing this, it's useful if you need to run some scenarios manually, for instance. But as soon as you turn off your computer, N8N will also stop running. Now, your files will be saved, so there's no problem when it comes to this, but you can't really set it up in a way of having N8N running constantly and sending webhooks to it, etc., unless your computer is on 24/7. So there is multiple ways how to set it up on your computer, really, but the easiest one is just download Node JavaScript, which is kind of backbone to N8N, and you install it either for Windows, which is what I'm running, or macOS, Linux, really any operating system you're using. After you have Node installed, I will not go through that because I already have it installed. You will want to restart your device so all the changes are used correctly. And once you did that, you want to get into console, be it on Windows, macOS, and I'll show you how it works in Windows. In macOS, the command in the beginning may be a bit different. So take caution, and if you're using Mac or Linux, look for the exact command on your device. But what you want to do is write npx N8N. Now you'll run it, and now depending on the speed of your device and speed of your internet, this will run for a few minutes and install the N8N on your local computer. Now, because I already have it installed, this was very quick, but for you, it will probably take a bit more time if you're running it for the first time. What you will get is exactly this. So you will get a localhost IP. And now when I press O, N8N will open that's running on my local instance. Now, what you'll see is that when I open webhook, I have the same problem again. So the webhook is running on a local host. What you would want to do in this case, N8N has a pretty neat function for it. So when I open the CMD again, I press Command C to stop the current instance. And now instead of just writing npx N8N, I will also write start start tunnel. To be honest, the word completely got out of my brain. So you just write these characters. And now if you run it, what this will do is start your instance, but with a specific connection that gives you a public IP address on the N8N server that you can access for your webhook. So now if I click O and open the instance, which is still running on localhost, but now when I click on webhook, I'll get public URL that you can use. And basically now if I send a request to this public URL, the request will be tunneled through N8N servers to my computer to this localhost app. Okay, so that's everything. I hope you found out a way how to set up N8N yourself. As I was mentioning in the beginning, I would definitely recommend you to run it on the server, such as Render or Railway or anything like that, because then you can run it 24/7. But if you only want to test it out, play around with N8N, maybe run some manual scenarios. By the way, I think they're called workflows in N8N. I'm just used to calling them scenarios from Make. Sorry for that. If you want to run manual workflows, this will work perfectly for you, even in your local machine. Okay, let me know if you have any questions or any other videos that you would like to see when it comes to N8N automations. You have all the links in the comments, and have a nice day. Bye.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.